Aaron Mace, you've come from the shadows, mate.
I have.
Come from behind the big lights and then made your way to the table in replacement for our man Darcy Lussick, who was over in Turkey getting a hair transplant.
I feel like Connor Watson. This is my time to shine.
Yeah, you have to. You got to step up here.
I'm gonna try. I'll do my best. Completions.
How was your weekend?
Weekend was good. Had a little bit of a big one on Saturday and a little bit hung, and now it led into me getting sick, which wasn't ideal. But
excuses, mate. Fire up.
I luckily get to sit at home, watch a bit of footy, so that was good.
Well, you're going to take the reins today, Mace. You're going to be asking me the questions. Again, it's your time to shine. Let's see what you've got today, bud.
Well, let's kick off with the freak of the week.
Yeah, Steve Crichton. I can't go past him again.
Yeah.
He's just his presence on the field. I think the Dogs were like pretty poor against the Roosters the week before, obviously with Critter missing. And then he comes back in. He's just, after a massive game too, high-pressure game, I can imagine the week in Origin camp would have been intense. Like the amount of preparation that went into that game on the line, you got to win Origin 2. And then you come back and back up for your team. Pretty poor conditions. You're playing against, what's considered a bit of a heavyweight in the competition this year in the Sharks. Get off to a good lead. And then, obviously the game in the balance and Birdo puts over that field goal. But just Critter's presence on that team. He gives them belief, because the Dogs of old didn't know how to win, and they probably didn't believe that they could ice that game, but they hung in there.
Yeah,
and Birdo kicks that field goal. So
I reckon, you're watching that, and I always watch it as a punter, so you're looking watching for game swings and things like that. And I reckon that first 15 to 20 minutes in the second half, Cronulla looked like they were going to come back and win by 20, in my opinion. Did you feel like? But it's that last ditch effort of just making that final tackle, because they were kind of half cutting through them. Like, what is it? What are they doing different now that's stopping it?
They're resilient, right? But my problem is, if they want to go deeper into this competition, they've got to fix their discipline at the end of sets. So they're giving away penalties on the 4th or on the 5th or when they get that repeat, 6 again.
6 again.
So their discipline around the back end of sets is letting them down, and they're keeping teams within the game. So you get off to a 12-point lead, and then you invite teams back in, and then you stay within an arm wrestle, and then they get away with the win. You can't keep doing that throughout the whole season. Yeah, it's great to win a tight one. It'll build resilience for your club, for your culture, to be able to win those tight games, especially in semi-finals. But there's going to be a fatigue factor that comes into it at some point. They're a young side. There's not a whole lot of experience within that club. You
can't do it against those top teams.
You can't do it against the top teams. And I think that's what's let them down. And I'm sure Serrato's across this, is their discipline and ball control, especially when you've got your foot on the throat, keep your foot on the throat. You play disciplined footy to not invite these teams back into the game. They're just letting teams come back, and then they're making it harder for themselves. So for me, Stephen Crichton, mate.
I see you put in the notes, you said, is Stephen Crichton the most influential player in the modern era?
I don't think he's the most influential on a game, but to see what he's done for that club in a short period of time. He's 23 years old. He's a kid. He's won 3 grand finals. He comes in, he always has the big speaker. You see the Fox, influential as well, but they've got the music pumping. He's got a handshake for every player. His energy, his presence, his communication to his players on the field for a 23-year-old to be able to do that on a first-grade squad, and to have them where they are, off the back of what I just said. They were poor without him against the Roosters, and then he comes back into the side and they jag that win. In the modern era, on a group, I think he's the most influential I've seen. Not necessarily on a game, but just
for what he's doing for those young guys in the team, the whole club,
for the fans, for everyone. Everyone's riding this wave, and it's off the back of Steve Crichton. So, man, I cannot speak highly enough of this kid. I was with the Fox recently.
Yeah.
Josh Adokar. And I said to Fox, I said, mate, I'm a genuine fan of this kid. Like, if I see him in the street, I want to go up and, like, can I have a photo? That's how That's how much influence he has on this game at the moment.
And he just seems so respectful. Like it's amazing he has that amazing competitive demeanour, yet he's still so respectful.
Absolutely. And let's not forget, I definitely won't forget, what he did for the Samoan team in the last World Cup. Kicked a field goal against England to get him into the final. But his presence amongst that group, Samoa were always had the potential to be a top 4 side, but he took them to probably a top 5, top 6. He took them to a top 3 in that World Cup. To challenge, to beat England. Australia was another level, but he's just building and building and building his career beautifully. And
where's his top? Like he's 24, he's 23. Like
I have no idea, mate. The sky's the limit for that kid. I don't know where he'll end up at the end of his career, in terms of greatness and where he's going to cement his spot in the game's history. But fuck, he's well on his way. On his way.
Let's stick with your doggies.
Yep.
I'm looking here now. They're currently sitting 5th, just under my Chooks.
Yep.
We're $5. You're $31. Are they a genuine top 4 team? Can they win the comp this year?
Well, if history repeats itself, they're meant to win it this year. So I think it goes from 84 loss, 84 win, 94 lost, 04 win, 14 loss, 2024. If you're going off the superstitions of the footy guys.
That was beautiful. Got Reni's crystal ball.
Yeah. Look,
but no, seriously, you look at this team, I know you love this team.
Yeah.
Do you think they're a better team?
I didn't always love this team. I've only come back to this team.
So they've inspired you again?
They've inspired me again. I just didn't like the way the club was going over for a number of reasons, and I won't get into them. But then to see what Serrato's done amongst the group, and
you keep talking about Serrato. Let's delve in more. What is it that Serrato's done for this club?
Look, we talk about. See, we were just caretakers of the jersey, right? So when I came to that club, I had no idea about the history of that club. I'm a Rabbitohs junior. I rode the coattails of the guys in the 80s and the 90s because we were reminded straight off the bat when you walked into that dressing room that these were the guys who set the platform for us to be who we are today as Bulldogs, or who we were at that point in time. The dogs of war. It was turning up for each other, not letting yourself down, the family club, everything. It was like, there was like 20, 30 years of foundations.
That club culture.
That Bullfrog cemented into that foundation. And then I just felt like we went away from it for a period, right? So I feel like Serrato, who was big, when he came into the club, he really wanted to get those old players back on board and get them around the club and teach people what it was, or understand what it was to be a Bulldog.
Yeah.
And I feel like we're going back into that era or that culture, but he's put his own spin on it.
Yeah.
And this is important for him, for them as a playing group, that this is your time. You create your own destiny, but be respectful of the people that came before you, like we were, or the guys in the 80s and the 90s, because we weren't successful in 04 unless we got on the back of what the blokes did in the 90s and the 80s.
Yeah.
So understanding that the people that came before you set the foundation, set the platform for us to be successful as a club. Now we're going back there. You see big crowds. You see...
the one thing the Bulldogs have always had that passionate fan base.
Absolutely. Absolutely. They're the most passionate fans in the competition. Bar none. Bar none. A bit wild.
Just a little bit.
A few flares back in the day come front. But look, I'm just really proud of where the club's headed. And I think Gus needs to get some recognition in this as well, because, he was a Bulldog premiership winner back in the 80s.
Yeah.
Coach.
We've seen what he did at Penrith. He's now come to the Bulldogs, and now we're seeing the fruits.
Very intelligent man.
But I think the thing with Gus is, yes, there's instant changes, but you just have to be patient, because the proof's in the... It's like he bakes a cake.
Yeah. You can see what they're doing even with their recruitment.
Yeah.
So there'll be a player come onto the market, for example, Adam Fanua-Blake. And I'm thinking, Why didn't they sign him? We need front rower.
Yeah.
We need a big, intimidating front rower like Haddon. And I don't know any inside information or whatsoever of why they didn't sign him, but there was a reason.
Yeah.
They're pulling back. They're not trying to be desperate like clubs have been in the past, especially clubs that are down the bottom of the ladder where they've just gone, I'm going to throw that money because he might attract players. They're doing it the other way. Hey, if you want to be part of this club, you got to fit in with us. It's not necessarily about what you're doing at that club and what you think you're worth. If you don't fit into the fabric of this club, then we're not signing you. So they're willing to wait. They're willing to stay patient.
Well, it's something I think like Nick Politis has been a master of over the last 20 years. And it's
not
always, but predominantly his thing was it's about getting players to buy into the Roosters fabric and having that. Yeah, they haven't got the biggest fan base, just me and about 7 others.
Yeah.
But that club culture, anyone that plays there, they love that club culture. And it sounds like, so I've got a friend, Blake Cavallaro, he's just become WNRL Bulldogs coach, and he's just left a couple of years at the Chooks, and the first thing he said was, it's a family club.
20, maybe even 30, because look, I don't like disclosing this information on a public platform, but I was a massive Roosters supporter growing up.
Wait, can we zoom in on this? Can we zoom in on this?
I idolised Freddie Fittler, so I used to make the boys go to the SFS when we were 15, 16 to go watch Freddie. That's all I cared about. And I remember when Freddie first signed from Penrith. Yeah. Well, that was huge for me. My dad was a Roosters supporter. Hugh McGahn was my favourite player. Culture and Roosters, it's like water and oil. It doesn't mix, back then. And then they were plucking good players here and there, and then you saw the early 2000s. You was like, they built this squad around Freddie. You're like Rico, Fletch, Minnie, Kalis, Morley. They built like this culture then. So it's a fairly new culture, I believe, at the Roosters.
Yeah.
When you're in Sydney, it's hard to build a culture.
Definitely.
The bright lights of King's Cross, and it's you got to appreciate a team that's in Sydney
that can build that culture.
That can build a culture, but stay disciplined.
Yeah.
A lot of temptation here in Sydney. And they've done it for a long time now. They've been very successful.
Yeah.
So moving forward, you can say that's off the back of the late 90s or early thousands where maybe Ricky Stewart galvanised that club to make them. And you got to remember, Ricky came from Bulldogs. Another interesting story, and this is my opinion. You think about who was the coach when the Melbourne Storm won their first premiership. Chris Anderson, a Bulldogs legend. Bellyaches created their own culture, but the foundation of their culture would have come from the Dogs. And it works.
That hard work ethic.
Family orientated. Bellamy just put his own twist on it, and they just grew off the back of that.
Goes to show you don't have to reinvent the wheel, does it? You just have to replicate the 90% and put your own twist.
100%. Well, pardon the pun, but you know what I mean. Yeah. No, look, I mean, pretty excited of where the club's headed.
You've certainly got X factor there.
I wouldn't want to come up against them in a semi-final, in a do or die, because they're not going to go away.
Yeah, definitely.
If you have an off day, they can beat you. So
and you'll have a loud crowd. It'll feel like a home game no matter what.
100%.
Let's touch on how they closed off. Matty Burton kicking that, like those 3 attempts and then got the last one.
Effortless.
How the fuck does he kick a ball?
What is it with left foot kickers?
I don't know.
They're all effortless. It's like a southpaw boxer. They're just so accurate with everything they do.
I think it's the same with lefties with golf as well. They just seem to be able to hit it. Apparently, if you do things this way and not that way, for some reason, you can just automatically hit it further, kick it further.
Yeah, I should have tried that. I can bat left-handed and right-handed when I'm playing cricket. It's a bit hard left-handed with the other one, but
honestly, I was a half growing up, and I can kick on a dime, not that far, but I can kick on a dime. My right foot, my left foot is like I had a stroke.
Yeah, true.
It is dead set like I had a stroke.
Yeah.
So I don't get how they do it. What's the difference?
So he's 35-40 out.
Yeah.
Hardly takes a run up. Effortless, just drop, boom. Just the first one missed, but it went well past the post. I went, what
but it goes past the post. Like, it's still going up. His trajectory is still huge.
it's the technique is just perfect.
Timing's perfect.
Timing, everything he's doing is perfect. And then the second one hits the upright. But again, it's like 1, 2, bang. There's no this big run up and then like gets the left boot or the right boot. Which one's his stabiliser? I'm getting confused right now.
His right foot's down. He just gets it, nails it.
So he nails it. Like his kicking technique is almost flawless.
And those bombs, like you go back and watch the week before, and those bombs that he was putting up, like they are insane. Like I in all the time I've watched footy.
Who was the week before?
Chooks.
Roosters when he put up that one. And it just it went away from Teddy A.
Like so you just look at it and just go, lands over
there. Yeah, look, he's.
But I'll ask you a question: if you're Matt Burton, would you be looking at the NFL?
Absolutely. What does an NFL player get paid?
I think the top guys were looking at before. It's something like around somewhere between 2.5 to 3 mil.
Look, as a Bulldog fan, no, don't look at it. But come on, man, what are they making here? Who's the top guy?
Around 3 mil. 3 mil top guys.
And how many kicks do you reckon a punter does?
And that's
per
American
game?
Too, you know.
I don't watch NFL. I need to get into it, but the punters wouldn't be doing much.
They're not making any tackles, I'll tell you that much.
Well, there's been punters that had to make tackles in the past.
There's a
couple of missed here and there, but
I'm tipping his work rate's a lot less.
It depends what sort of legacy you want to leave on a game because
the one we get $3 million a year to just kick a ball sounds all right.
Yeah, true. Cost of living in Sydney, hey, you're going to be making a hell of a lot more. But I'm sure he's already got scouts looking at him. I don't know who his manager is, but I'm sure they've had the conversation.
Definitely.
It's a conversation worth having.
I reckon it's got to be the easiest transition from an NRL player to an NFL player. Just kick the fucking ball.
I should have practiced kicking more.
You missed your opportunity.
I did.
Let's have a little chat about the Cowboys' win.
Yeah.
What is it about this playing group at the moment that seems to be they're a better squad when their stars aren't there? And I'm not knocking down their stars.
It's kind of a question you've got to, and the Warriors are in a somewhat similar position, but for Todd Payten, he's got to make some tough decisions now. You know, what is the perfect chemistry and balance for his team? If his big name players, if they can't win with 6 of their, well, they can win. They haven't been. I'm big on chemistry. I've always said it.
Yeah.
My whole career, I've said you've got to have the right chemistry within your playing group. No matter how many stars you have in a side, you need the perfect chemistry to be a successful team. And there is something wrong with their chemistry.
What do you think, Sarah? Because I'll tell you, like I was at, and you know when you watch a game live on TV, you get to see different things, especially on and off the ball. When I watch them play the Chooks here, I was not confident with East because the Cowboys' line speed, they just played better as a group. And they looked happier out there and they looked aggressive and they were just moving.
They've got nothing to lose. You've got nothing to lose. And then there could be an element of the opposition taking them a little bit lighter. But when you've done it twice now against 2 heavyweights of the competition, that's when Payten needs to start making some tough decisions around his side, regardless if they're playing Origin or not. Yeah. If that's going to work for him or not. There was a young left centre that got Simbin in that game. Class. Like you can see he's got a future.
Yeah, definitely.
And it brings me, I'll just quickly touch on the Warriors because they're at a period of this year's competition where they need to string more wins together.
Yeah.
And they've had success with Tamari Martin at half. Sean comes back, and it's no knock on Sean at whatsoever. But at some point in your career, not all the stars or all the best players have the fairy tale finish to their career. I don't know if he's going to retire or not, but it could be just time for him to step back.
He was absolutely flying until he obviously, like he's nursing injuries. Like I remember watching him at the game here, same thing. Like the way he was moving, he was kicking the ball and hurting his shoulder.
Well, it's chemistry. So the chemistry of that team is being more successful with
Tamari Martin
at half, and the other kid, the other young half. Blank. Oh fuck! His name just escaped me. But again, this is where a coach needs to start making some tough decisions on the playing group for the benefit of the side, because we all can't have the fairy tale finish, and we all want that. But it's there's always someone come out behind you and trying to take your spot.
Yeah.
And Tamari, he had come back from that horrific neck injury, played a lot of 6 early on in his career, a little bit of fullback. And
He
now I think
certainly
he's a
take
half.
ownership of this
I
side.
think he's a half.
Yeah, he's definitely a half. Harris Tavita's a kid.
Harris Tavita, sorry. Harris Tavita, a great player too. Great player. I think he even had a break from the game too, didn't he, last year?
Yeah, a little bit of injury.
Look, 2 clubs. Cowboys have 3 buys up their sleeve as well. So they're going to be, I think they're going to be pushing for that top 4 if they can get it right.
Yeah.
But now they've just instilled belief into their system to go, hey, our system works. We can go to Penrith and win at Penrith. The system works fine, what we're coaching.
Yeah.
What's not working is players in key positions.
Well, there's a lot of question marks on the coach. Are they defensively sound yet? Are they not? And I think he's starting to show that they can do it.
Across the board is a copy and paste system. You know, almost every coach coaches the same. Defensive structure, attacking patterns, it's all the same. It's what player complements the next.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily have to have all the best players. There's one thing I've always been thinking about, and I've been thinking about a lot lately. I think it's time for a coach to innovate and create new coaching techniques of
Like going to Fiji.
Of course. You know what I mean? Just, I'm going to create a role on my bench or my rotation or a play here. I'm going to change. I'm going to turn the game upside down on its head, kind of like the Walker brothers did with the Queensland side.
Yeah.
I think they had a system where and I don't agree with it, but it was like, I think they backed off in defence. They didn't come up and they ended up winning the competition by a lot. But I want a new coach to bring something different to the game, something we haven't seen. Every sort of 10 years, you'll see something different.
Who do you think the coach will be to do it? So you want to see it? Who, like your prediction, who could it be?
I just think with a small man coming back into the game, the utility roles come back in.
Yeah.
Like the Connor Watsons, the Craig Wings, the just that utility factor is very important. Smaller players, game's very fast. There's almost room. There is definitely room within our game to create a new role in our sides. And I want to see who the coach is that's got to have the balls to do it.
Could be Benji. And they're starting to, like, as much as they got beat 46-4, they weren't unimpressive, the Tigers, I didn't think.
Look,
I think
they've got a lot of things they need to fix.
definitely.
They're so young.
So young. But Lockie Galvin, the whole time, even though he was still testing.
You got to
just couldn't
create
make
a
it.
strong base before you start trying to be revolutionise the game. So it'll have to be one of the, like, let's just say Penrith go on and win their 4th comp. Ivan Cleary just goes,
Wow.
Hey, this is too easy. I'm going to make it. I'm going to mix it up here. I'm going to play everyone out of position just for a couple of games.
Just to
See how it goes. Obviously Fish Harris is leaving, but put Leota at half, and put someone up front. You know what I mean? Just
try something
this
different.
is too easy.
Just give everyone else a chance.
Yeah. But no, look, I mean that because the utility has come back into the game, the 14.
Yeah.
The 13 is just another half now, right? Usually they were like a defensive worker. But now they're playing as another half. And it has been for a few years now, but I'm interested to see who can really change
the modern game.
Change where every other team needs to adapt because this one coach decided to throw a spanner in the works and go, how do we defend against that?
Because I think every year it seems to, whatever the rule changes are, and it's whatever 2 coaches or couple of coaches seem to adapt to it. And usually it's Trent Robinson and Bellyache. And
the game is evolving very, very at a very fast rate because of the speed of the game.
Yeah.
If we're on that trajectory of how fast the game is, there'll be a lot more mobile forwards. There is mobile forwards, don't get me wrong. But
do you think that's why Bulldogs are having such success? Because you do have a lot of forward pack?
We've got a lot of utilities that can play multiple positions.
Yeah.
Not off the back of their resilience and they're filling in the space and working hard for each other and being a happy group. It's definitely like if you're a bigger side, you'd be thinking, fuck, these blokes are just running everywhere. Because that's what they do is the Dogs will they'll shift the ball a lot out of yardage. And we've spoken about it before. They'll chance their arm, halfway down the field. Because in the past before they were able to get the ball to the edges cleanly, defensive sides were able to sort of cut it off before it got to kick out. But when you're little bit more passive further down the field, then they can get to the ball to the edges, they can get to a kick out, they can get to Crichton, create opportunities, make good meters, and then have a different defense, attacking structure within the good ball. But I think a lot of assistant coaches would be looking at the game now and saying and thinking, looking at the analytics of the game and all the kilometres they're doing and go, hey, there's an opportunity here to expose that.
Yeah.
Let's change the game.
Let's try something.
Let's try something. We'll see what happens.
I like it.
Let's talk signings.
You want a coaching role?
You know what? I went back and coached South SG Ball with Tallis Duncan and...
How long ago was this?
Oh, shit. 3-4 years ago?
Pre-COVID?
Post-COVID, I think. Post.
Just post.
Too many fucking head knocks. And I loved
CTA.
it. It was great. These kids were SG Ball, a little bit older.
Yeah.
And then I went and coached Matthew Shield with the Dogs, and they were just like a little bit too young. Like if I can go and speak to anyone, like I work with kids 19 and above, 19 and under, it's just a different, you live in a different reality to what I grew up in.
Yeah.
We grew up in polar opposite worlds. I came in, my childhood's the 80s and 90s, and then, and it's not a knock, it's just completely different. I can't relate.
So what's different? What's different with that?
Look, footy was like, it's just like technology and the way the world's developing, like.
If
footy was like, we were in the street with a footy in our hands until the street lights came on. Yeah. You hear mum screaming out, get your ass inside. But that's like, we learned how to pass as babies. Like it was just pass. The development of a footy player now, when you see kids in their younger grades, I'm like, holy shit, they don't know how to pass. Not the way we knew how to pass.
So what, you reckon they've gone backwards in some ways?
Oh, we've definitely created better athletes. There are better athletes in our game.
Yeah.
Way more better athletes. But natural skill and IQ for the game is diminishing.
Yeah, wow.
But the game becomes a lot more robotic as well, and a lot more systematic.
And that's the way that they coach.
That's the way it is, because completion rates are the difference between winning and losing now. And look, I understand it. I don't agree with it. It's just the way it is. It's just far less entertaining for me to watch personally. But I appreciate the athlete in the game, and how hard they work and what they do. But I dare anyone to challenge me.
Yeah, well, see,
anyone to challenge me that the IQ of a footy player has not dropped.
Yeah, I reckon you could be right on the IQ. But I reckon when you look at some of these back rowers now and the balls that a lot of back rowers can pass compared to what in the older days, I reckon...
the back rowers in my day could pass.
Yeah.
Sonny Bill would bullet pass to a winger across the front. I could pass.
In my opinion, he revolutionised.
I taught him everything he knows. We lived together. We go down to Coral Sea Park and do footy drills while we were playing first grade. Me, him and Willie Tonga. I taught him everything.
There we go. Heard it here first on BT.
No, I didn't. It's a G up.
But like when you actually talk about him, and I think a lot of people don't understand, was that he could... So I think a very good player can commit A, B and C, where I think he could commit A, B, C and D, because
he could commit the bench.
But he could, because he could beat this man. These two are like, fuck, we need to tackle him, and then he could hit a spiral ball that far wide.
This is the thing with Son, right? Because when we're playing both in the back row, I'd be left, he'd be right, or vice versa. And we'd pack down in a scrum. He'd say, come with me on the second. So we'd lay a channel, and then we'd wrap on a short side, and a back row would come from the right or left, and he would try and put me through a hole. So... like he wanted to work in pairs. Yeah. Like, you don't stick to your... He had the mind of a half.
Yeah, he was an oversized halfback, wasn't he?
Oversized halfback, but tough, So
he did it all.
Look, Sonny is another is up there. Like he's the elite of the elite.
Do you think he's probably one of the best forwards to ever play the game?
Absolutely. 100%. Bar injury, he's probably the best back rower I've ever seen in my life. Ever. By far. There are plenty of people would say
had he had not gone and played rugby and then come back, he'd probably
he's the best Kiwi to ever play.
Yeah.
For sure. His work ethic, his maturity. Early, we all had injury and but what he did across different codes as well.
pretty impressive, isn't it?
Just a massive athlete, huge athlete,
With a football IQ.
with a great IQ for the game and tough.
Yeah.
And tough.
It's very rare that you get to wrap all of those attributes into the one player.
They're generational players.
Yeah.
Generational. Like they don't come along too often. Who's the next Sonny Bill you've seen? There's none.
None.
There's none close to him.
It's weird as well though, because we talk about it and we go, he's the next Inglis, but you never say he's the next Sonny Bill.
Nah. You could say Latrell has similarities to GI the way he runs and he fends.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say they're similar, just similarities to their technique.
But you hear it talked about. I'm not saying
of course.
he is.
No, but I'm just saying, if you're going to say like for like, I go, Latrell has similarities to the technique of GI.
Same as Cobbo, I think.
Cobbo
like looks
them
like a
three
at times.
They have similar traits within their game.
Yeah.
But they're different.
Definitely.
There's no other Sonny Bill. I haven't seen one come along. Not one.
That's crazy. That's what I mean. You never hear of it.
No.
All right, let's talk signings. We've been talking about this signing for a little while.
Yep.
We've finally secured our man, Angus Crichton, 2 years, 1.6 mil. Is it a bargain?
Fucking bargain. Bargain, all right. 1.6 mil for our man Angus Crichton. Please, 800 a year. He's worth $1 million. 950. No, look, I can take the piss and we can say the whole Roosters Uncle Nick thing, right? Never. Hey? Everyone does. It's a joke, right? Yeah. He's made an investment on his future by staying for less money.
Yeah.
Because there's more money out there for him. You think about, you know better than me, who's the power brokers that, other than Nick, you've got Mark Burris in the camp, you've got big money in Sydney, big power brokers that support the Roosters.
Not just big money, you've got highly intellectual people that deeply care about the club.
That's what I'm saying. So everything that you want to do post rugby league is there for you if you want it.
Yeah.
If you're willing to have the right people around you, rub shoulders, get advice, Roosters are the club. So I would absolutely take a pay cut coming into the, I wouldn't say the back end, but to the pointy end, because Roosters do look after their players that have given them great service for a long time.
100%. You look at a lot of their coaching staff.
I'm not sure exactly. Yeah, coaching staff. So Friendy, Brett Morris.
Brett.
Boydie. Freddie's still got things.
Even Piercy's back there doing stuff at the club now.
Well, what's Rico doing? Rico's in finance or something right now?
He's in finance.
I'm sure he had that was through a hookup.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You're investing.
Yeah. You're investing into your future when you stay with the club for less money.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. There would have been more money out there for him. I watched a really good interview with Mark Burris and Stephen Hoyles. So Halsey is a guy from the area, played league, played for the Wallabies, played for New South Wales Waratahs. He's coaching Randwick. And he was talking about the state of rugby union. I felt so naive that because I played rugby union up until I was 15. I had made a decision. Am I going to rugby or am I going to league? I love the game. And I've always sort of taken the piss out of the game. But at the core of it, I was playing for Clovelly Eagles when I was 4 years old. Morgan Tuanui, Hoyles, he was a year above me. And he was talking about the state of rugby union and how much debt they're in and how much. So they've lost those 2 Wallabies recently. We'll get into it after. But to sign 1.6 million, they're in like, I want to say he was saying something like between 40 or $80 million debt. This is the rugby union.
Yeah.
So maybe that deal with rugby union, because we spoke a lot of people, there's that Wallabies deal. They don't have any fucking money. And the game is regressing in the Southern Hemisphere. Even in New Zealand, they're having issues. And this is off the back of Mark Burris and Steve
Where do you watch it?
I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you who won the Super Rugby. But just to sit there and listen to Halsey and tell me about the state of the game and where he feels like they need to improve and like the money and grassroots and the Southern Hemisphere is changing. Northern Hemisphere is very ruck orientated, scrum orientated. The Southern Hemisphere, we want to see a bit more entertaining rugby. The game's in trouble. So my point is, Angus Guy not going to rugby union is a fucking smart move, a very intelligent move. Even if they did have, let's say he had money and they offered him 1.5 mil and he stayed for 800, I don't think he would have had massive regrets. Not to mention, like he stays here, potentially wins some premierships,
Yeah.
plays more rep footy, creates more of a legacy. The biggest thing for Stephen then, for Angus, is you got Japanese rugby there. He's still at that point where he's at the pointy end of his 20s where he's playing the best footy he's playing.
Yeah.
That those deals will still be there.
He could play another 4 years at the Roosters.
Absolutely.
And then turn around and go beautiful and go get another big paycheck.
And he seems like a fairly, like a really intelligent kid. Like, forget everything that went on last year, right?
Yeah.
He's turned his life around. And I don't even think it was as bad as it was made out to be. But I think he's got his own business. He's got his own clothing brand.
I think he does.
I saw something at a barbershop. I'm not sure. So everything is set up for you to be successful in Sydney at the Roosters, post-footy.
Definitely. Let's stay one more of their signings. We've got Mark, cannot pronounce his name, Quenitiski.
Yeah, look, I don't know much about this kid. I don't know a hell of a lot. I've seen it on the news in the last 24 hours that they've signed him.
Well, the signing was done. It was whether we could get him through.
Why do they need another winger?
Well, yeah, is he going to play winger? Because the issue with the East at the moment is they haven't got the centres for next year. And
yeah.
I don't see, like, I think Dom Young is this amazing athlete, but he definitely doesn't have footy IQ yet.
Well, how smart do you need to be a winger? Hey,
well, my point is he's definitely not going to push into the centres.
He's one winger that I've watched recently that just backs himself to score in the corner. He
Every
will
time.
never come off his right foot to beat a fullback coming across in cover D. He will always go for that corner.
I reckon, I explained him to someone the other day. He kind of looks like an under 12 kid coming back to under 10s, and it's his second year of football.
Yeah.
Like he is, and it goes, which
Raw
is
talent.
scary, raw talent. Because
talent.
it's like he still doesn't even understand the game yet or the whole mechanics of it all. And he just does it on raw speed, strength, and just being an athlete.
Well, he's come from the north of England. Like, you know what I mean? Like, the game is completely different over there. They play a totally different style. To come into the NRL, do what he did at Newcastle, do what he's doing at the Roosters, he's fucking having he's a great player.
It's going to be
but for
exciting
this
to see
kid,
where he is in 4 years.
So I don't know much about this kid. I don't want to speculate. I don't know what the Roosters are lacking. I know Billy Smith is out with an ACL, so he won't come back till next year. And then you've got Sorley going to rugby union, and then you've got Joey Manu going to Japanese rugby. Yeah. So that they'll find a role for him. And the beautiful thing is that they control him this year. He can play after the Paris Olympics, right?
I watched, and I watched Robbo spoke in the press conference. He goes, we're excited to get him in the New South Wales Cup and start getting some games into him. And
where is he currently playing? The Waratahs? Or was he? The season's finished?
Yeah, season finished.
Neither here nor there. The Waratahs based at Moore Park?
Yep.
They've seen data.
Yeah, they know.
They know what he can do, and regardless of what. They've seen him around Moore Park. They know his background. They know they don't just sign a rugby union player, because you got to think there's a lot of talented fucking wingers and centers around. Like, surely, well, fuck, maybe there isn't. But you know what? I'm happy for a rugby union player to come over and chance it, because they've all played league. They've all watched league.
Yeah.
I'm
interested to see. You see the transition the other way. Like, it's going to be interesting to see what it is like here.
I hope he does well. I think it's exciting. I think it's great to have people talking about, because it'll bring eyes to the game as well. If he does play first grade, they're like, how's this rugby union kid going to go?
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a talking point when he starts his first game.
Do you reckon he'll be a target?
As much as I was. All right. So in signing Angus Crichton on the 1.6, we've had to make some room and release Tilly.
Great signing, big signing for the Dogs. I'm really happy, and he showed his versatility on the weekend. By playing centre, a little bit of a kick.
I'm usually, one thing that horrifies me is when you see back rowers playing centre in teams, just for having that leg speed. But he's genuinely a big, fast, mobile boy.
Look, it's a great signing, and it gives Canterbury depth. In the back row. We've spoken a lot about Canterbury on this podcast, but he's a great signing for the club. And I'm sure Gus was sitting there going, hey, look, we know Angus is there. He's going to demand big money. We don't want both our back rowers on huge money.
Yeah.
Let's see what Satilli's doing. And then obviously it's played into their hands perfectly. They've picked him up for 4 years. Strong back row. I think it might even push Preston back to the bench now. Preston's only his second year, going to his third year.
He'll be starting.
He's a back row of the future of that club. He's a rep footy player. He's got a lot of developing to do. So Tilly's probably just in front of him in terms of 4 or 5 years experience, 3, 4 years.
About 3. Like, it just goes to show how much depth have been at the Roosters because he's barely been cracking first grade, but then he's such a quality player. I think it's such a huge signing.
We've lacked depth in the back row when Kikau's been out, or then Preston's out, and then we've got guys coming in to fill in and do a job, but then you've got Tilly there now as well. Yeah. So a great signing for the club. I'm really happy with that one.
All right, let's move on. Biggest pest in the game right now. Reed Mahoney, he's actually gone to a level where he's this much of a pest that the NRL's going to make some rules around him potentially.
I don't know if they'll make rules around him, but I think Paul Crawley wrote something around that. Look, you think about how our game started, right? In the late 1800s in the north of England, and I'm paraphrasing now, and then if someone wants to fact check me, up in the north of England, right? Rugby league was a hybrid game created for the poor or the working class. Yes. They weren't allowed to play rugby union. So if you're talking about is he playing within the integrity of the game? If you
He's playing on the fabric of the game.
If you go back to the late 1800s, you'd be like, yeah, fair game. He wants to be a grub, be a grub. Fast forward to now, there is the majority of, I would say still, of our fans are working class. Yeah. For sure. Definitely working class people,
that's a demographic.
Right? But there is so much money invested into this game now. It's $1 billion corporation. It's a huge entity that's turning over and I wouldn't say grassroots is building, but the spectacle of league.
It's certainly growing.
It's growing, TV rights, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now, does it look good as a spectator? Probably not.
It's interesting.
It's interesting. Look, it's borderline, right? Everyone has a plan till you get punched in the face, right? Yeah,
that's
what great Mike Tyson said. And within our game and the rules that are created around our game, you can't hit anyone in the face.
No.
Right?
Wait, do you think that's almost playing in the Reed Mahoney more now? Because it's like, I would have antagonised the shit out of you if I knew you couldn't punch me in the face.
Oh, man, look.
Different story.
I would take the 6 weeks suspension to punch you square in the fucking face. I swear to God. Anyone. I would take it. Like, sit me out for 3 months. I don't care. If you're going to carry on and keep carrying on and get under my skin, there's got to be consequence.
Well, it certainly worked. Look
but he backs Nico. It up. He backs it up with his performance. He's a great try at dummy half. He's tough. He's resilient. He's what every teammate you want as a teammate. Yeah. And everyone hates. And you look at like Michael Ennis, right? He's still known as the grub.
Still.
A grub. And he was a grub, but he was good at it. And if you look down the back end of the game, Nico misses that field goal. Was he playing it on his mind? I'd love to know. I'd love to know Serrato's giving him the green light for this.
Well, when you think about it, like you said before, when you get into these real tight games and it's 1 or 2 penalties that can change a game. Yeah. And when you've got someone grub just in their head, just looking at and
just
it just takes
an
that
absolute pest.
Yeah.
Look, it's kind of it depends what way you look at the game. What's your perspective on rugby league? Do you love it? You either love it or you hate it. It's Andrew Johns hates it.
It's mind warfare. It's
it's not exactly a game of chess.
No, it's not. Definitely not.
I think he's got to be. This is the thing with Reed. He's going to become a huge target. Just got to pack it up. You got to back it up. They're going to send front rowers at you, the biggest back rowers, and I think he can. Now, if it's not within the integrity of the game, there's an argument there. But then again, if you're a Bulldog supporter, I'm sure most Bulldog supporters are not just happy with, not saying they're happy with it, but if it's going to get into players' heads, and it got into Nico's head. He missed that. He shanked that field goal. That field goal late in the game, pressure moment. I feel sorry for Nico. He's such a great talent and a good kid, and I see what he does for the community and what he does for his people, and he doesn't deserve this kind of pressure that's been put on him, but only And Fitzy said it. Only Nicho can get out of this.
Definitely.
And if he wants to be, and you know,
I'll give you another example. Look at Latrell. So everyone was on Latrell, on Latrell, on Latrell, on Latrell.
Yep.
And then have a little break, comes back. South start turning around. Next minute, they get on his back. He now gets picked for Origin, has a blinder. No one's sitting there going, Latrell, Latrell, Latrell. It's amazing how like 2 or 3 games can change how everyone looks at you.
They get 4 wins in a row. That Origin performance, like everything was class that he did. Didn't have to do too much. But that's how quick and narrow-minded we are as people.
We forget about it like this.
Like that. And that is a good thing.
Definitely.
But you know who doesn't forget? Latrell.
Yeah. Of
Latrell.
course not.
He doesn't forget what was said for the first 8 rounds or 10 rounds or whatever it was. Given that a lot of it he brought on himself, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Not no one else's opinion. But he to see him go back out to Taree and out the country over the weekend and stuff like that, and it would have been a great idea for the club to just go keep him grounded and say, hey, this is, you still belong to the country and this is where you're happy. Understand that things can get ugly back here again. Go and spend your time, keep away from the game, switch off, because you've got a job to do when you come back. Not only for New
it's
South
obviously
Wales,
something he's passionate about.
Especially for South.
Yeah.
I loved his interview he did too. I can't remember who it was.
It was on Channel 9, I think.
Yeah. But for Nicho, this is Fitzy's got to find a way to make him happy. I'm just presuming that he's just going through a bit of a period where he's probably not enjoying the game as much as he should. But he can turn it around.
All right, let's move on to the preview.
Preview it is. Yeah.
All right, we kick off Para Eels, who were pretty good last week against the Knights for a long way. They're $2.21 at home against South Sydney Rabbitohs, $1.67.
Para at home. This is a tough game to pick. And Para were definitely in that game for long periods and a great game against Newcastle. South's coming off the bye. They're going to be, a lot better for that rest because they did have a lot of injury, haven't they?
Yeah, they have.
They've fucking been decimated, really.
And then they've had guys like Cameron Murray and that coming back from injury and then going straight into Origin.
Yeah. So they needed that rest. I think off the back, Para have forgotten how to win and South's are building.
They're building.
I'm not saying they're going to create any sort of miracle, create any kind of miracles, but I just can't back Para at the moment. I think they're just too down in confidence. I think South's going to be too strong.
All right. We're at the Cronulla Sharks, $1.37 at home against the Gold Coast Titans, $3.10.
They need to get a win now. They need to build some confidence. Titans, very resilient team. They've shown.
They do get Brim sent back as well.
And Fafita would be playing for an Origin spot.
Yeah.
Look, Sharks should win at home. I'm looking for them to turn it around. Nico to have a big game. You've got Titans on the road who aren't great on the road. If they want to be a genuine threat in this competition, they need to knock over the Titans. So I'm going to go Sharks.
Yeah, agree. We've got the Brisbane Broncos, $2.41 at home against Penrith Panthers.
Yeah, this is a tough one. This is a tough one because I know they're getting a lot of players back, but there's no panic stations from Brisbane. But I see
no panic stations. They're outside the 8.
They are outside the 8, but the way Kevy's sort of talking and, no, we'll be fine, we'll get through this Origin period. To build the confidence of this club before they lose all their Origin stars again, this is a massive game for them at home. It's there to be taken with Penrith losing last week. I wouldn't say, they're getting some players back as well, Penrith.
Definitely.
It's a good opportunity to get Penrith now.
Should be a close game.
I think we'll get a real good indication of where they are. Yes, I know Renault's missing.
Would you take the 3.5 start? Is that enough start?
Not enough start.
Not enough start. So you're going to stick with the Penny Panthers?
Yeah, I think this is a real strong indication of where the Broncos are and where they're going over the next month. And I think the Panthers will be too strong at this point.
All right. We move on to your Bulldogs, $1.49 at home against the Wars, $2.63. They've been so impressive at home. Can they keep it up?
Well, they haven't lost at home, have they? Oh. This is like a little bit of a rivalry too. Warriors, Dogs. It goes back a long time. Dogs again. I think if they can cut out their errors, they've got an opportunity here to get it to put the foot on the throat and really show this competition, have people looking over their shoulder. Because I've looked at the rest of their draw this year, they've got a fairly good run home. So
they play the Wars again later on.
So there's probably 8 rounds to go.
Something like that.
Probably only got 7 of the 8 are outside the top 4 potentially, or maybe the 8.
Yeah.
The 8 games, whatever's left, they've got a good run home. I would be confident that they can win every game leading into the semi-finals. I think if they want to be a genuine contender, they beat the Warriors this week. So Dogs for me at home.
Dogs. All right, we've got the West Tigers back at Leichhardt, $4.10 against the impressive Melbourne Storm, $1.25.
I don't even think Leichhardt could get them the win this week. I'm going to stick with the Storm. Not a confident one, though.
Yeah. It's
because of the Leichhardt factor.
It's something magic about Leichhardt, isn't it? It's like
for them, it is.
It is.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And it's definitely great for the community, and they get behind it. And that's what that's what a struggling club needs, is a good fan base to get behind them during a big game against, and they will live for that game.
Yeah.
When you run out into Leichhardt, those suburban grounds, the crowd's on top of you, you just find another 5% for some reason, or 10%, whatever it is. It might be that little bit extra they need to get over someone like the Storm. Is Olam playing? He's coming up against his old club.
Yeah.
But the Storm are just finding...
No, Olam's out.
They know how to win, even with players that they're missing. Jerome Hughes is the best halfback in this game right now.
Wow. Best halfback in the game.
In the game right now.
Okay.
Cleary's out injured. I think what he's doing without Munster...
You'd say Mitchell Moses for the Blues, don't you? He was our man.
Who?
Mitchell Moses for the Blues.
Oh, he was good for the Blues. I just don't think he's a premier half right now. I think you can't go past Jerome Hughes.
Yeah, he's been so consistent.
He's just
he seems to have got a new facet to his game. Like he's just really developing as a half, more of a playmaker than just a ball runner.
He looked awkward going into the 7 role. When I first seen him go from fullback into the halves, I thought, oh, that doesn't look natural. His kicking game, his just the way he gets him around the park, the way he pulls the trigger, he executes.
Yeah.
I think he'd be sitting at like well into the 90% with his execution rate. Like he finds the target almost every time.
Is that because they've just got such a perfect system? They're so well drilled, or is he just?
They've got a good system, but when he does a looping pass over to his wingers, they land on the chest. They might be just out of the reach for the opposition winger to be able to knock it down or be able to take an intercept. His kicking game's like on a dime,
to a whole new level.
On a dime. His support play and his running game, defensively sound as well.
Yeah. So Leichhardt's doing absolutely nothing for the Tigers. Steam into the Storm.
Yeah, I'll stick with the Storm.
All right, North Queensland, $1 at home, $1.78, coming off the win against Manly Sea Eagles, $2.08.
This is another game where you're just like, fuck, all their Origin players are back. On paper, they should do a job on Manly.
They should.
They should do a job.
We've got Turbo playing in the centres.
I think that's great. I think that's great for just to ease him back into the game. I don't know how much he can contain Turbo in terms of him going looking for the ball. He'll probably do more Ks than any other centre in the competition this weekend because he just naturally wants that ball. He'll go looking for it. But the Cows, off the back of a good win, their Origin players coming back in. Let's see what chemistry they've got. I'm going to back the Cows.
All right. We've got the Sydney Roosters, $1.25 against the Dragons, and we've got that across the road here.
Yeah.
With some interesting, we've got Jennings back in the centres and Satili staying in centres as well.
Jennings has been a tremendous centre for a number of years. Comes back as, he's not Joey Manu, but he brings a bucket load of experience and, I he's played at the highest level for a long time. He's class. He's a representative centre. You know, at the pointy end of his career, the very, very pointy end of his career. I really love. I just love the way that they're playing the Roosters. I love their shape off the back of Walker. I love Connor Watson at 13. I love Radley to an edge.
Yeah. They're stuck with that. They've got Connor Watson in lock again.
Jared out?
No, Jared's playing.
Lindsay's in. Cheese.
Can I say, I reckon that was probably one of Jared's best games last week.
Yeah.
He just really, so the last 2 weeks, the same against
the Dogs. But Cheese as well, he's kind of turned things around since his little misdemeanor, whatever it was. So he's playing.
He's playing with conviction.
Just a little bit of a kick up the arse to go, hey, fucking, you're not bigger than this club.
Yeah.
Fucking set your alarm. This is the standards. And he's taken it onto the field. Like, he's very hard to contain. He's playing well.
He's
always been hard to contain. But I just love the way the style of play the Roosters are playing. But Dragons will be thinking about the Anzac game and going, hey, that ain't happening again.
Yeah.
You know, they got belted at.
That was huge.
You know, and they're building nicely. Shane Flanagan's really instilled some belief into that side. Inconsistent in patches throughout the season.
They're in the 8 at the moment.
This will be a cracker game. What day is it?
Sunday here.
Sunday footy.
Sunday, 2 p.m.
Yeah, wow. I don't know what the weather's going to be like. Hopefully it's a bit of a dry pitch. You want to see a good game.
We've got forecast for rain, but...
Yeah. Look, I'll go the Roosters at home.
All right. And we wrap it up with the Canberras at home, $2.26 against the Newcastle Knights, $1.64.
They put up a fight against Melbourne. It wasn't the best game to watch, but Canberra have just... I can't put my finger on it. You know, it's like trying to get blood. You're just trying to get something out of it. I can see Ricky I know what Ricky's like. He'd be really training him hard and just trying to get that little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more out of him. And I think they might capitulate now. And their error rate last week, obviously in tough conditions.
It wasn't good. It was a messy, sloppy game in the end, wasn't it?
I like the Knights, especially with that young kid Price, Leon Price's son.
Yeah.
Like a Bradford Bulls legend, like a legend over in the Super League. Fact, it was Bradford. He played for Bradford. Yeah, he did. When Bradford were a powerhouse in the Super League, like in first grade, they've been relegated now.
We've also got Kalen Ponga back, massive in.
Kalen's back? Are you sure?
Kalen's in. He's named in the side. He's named at 1.
Yeah, I'm not confident that he'll play. I just can't back Canberra at the moment. I just think they're running on fumes.
Yeah.
At the moment, you know, I can't see them turning their season around. I think they're going to capitulate and maybe go on a bit of a swan dive now. Just my opinion. Sorry, Sticky.
All right, well, that's a wrap. We'll see you next week.
You're going to be here next week? You're back in the hot seat? I wonder what...
we'll have I
don't wonder how Darcy's hair transplant's going.
I don't know. I might have to
I've never seen him grow a beard, so maybe you should get a beard transplant, a bit of a facial transplant as well. No, you did well today, Mace.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, I'll see you next week, mate.
See you next week.
What are you prepared to lose today? Set a deposit limit. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.